All right. Shalom, Israel. First and foremost, as always, I would like to give all praises, honor, glory, respect, and blessings to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem, Rakaha, Kwadash. Salutations to the Lord's elect on the four corners of the earth, pushing His truth and sincerity while patiently waiting for Yahweh Shai's return. And double honors to our apostles and elders of Great Millstone, which have taught us everything we know through the spirit and power of Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai. And I'm going to title this video, it's going to be another one of those early morning videos. The U.S. government shuts down today. Now, I say that with a question mark because there's various videos in the news right now circulating that the U.S. government has shut down after not being able to come up with an agreement to make a payment on some government issues. So they say the U.S. government has shut down today, and we all know what happens if there's another government shutdown. Okay, well, let's observe the government shutdown that happened 7 years ago. Okay, the last time the government has shut down and reopened, there was a whole bunch of laws and legislations that were passed that went completely under people's noses. Okay, they had no idea that these bills were passed, and basically people started noticing that their government benefits were disappearing, pensions were disappearing. You know, a lot of things that people were able to do, they were no longer able to do anymore. Okay, more privacies were taken, more surveillance. Okay, everything became more digitized, and so what we're witnessing is supposedly another government shutdown. Okay, and the government shutdown was announced, I would say, maybe 7 hours ago. So, you know, the Holy Scriptures speak about, and a matter of fact, before I get revelation, okay, and I also have my G&T Bible on my phone, so I can read some of these precepts in the G&T as well. The only thing about my G&T Bible is that I don't think it has the Apocrypha in it. I think it only has the KJV, the King James Bible, the standard one in it, not the 1611. So, oh yeah. So like I was reading the prayer of Azariah earlier today. Let's go to 2nd Esdras real quick, okay? Because one thing the Lord commanded us, which anything the Lord commanded the prophets of old, have also been commanded to us as well, okay? 2nd Esdras 9 verse 1. He answered me then and said, measure thou the time diligently in itself. How do you measure the time diligently in itself? By watching the news and linking the global events that are happening around the world to biblical prophecy to measure the time that you are in. And by the times which I have measured, we are clearly in Jacob's trouble. Now, we might be in the beginning stages of it, but it's going to gradually increase. Okay? Jacob's trouble is going to become greater and greater and greater and greater and greater through gradualism. See, Jacob's trouble is not going to just start off as an all-out attack, you know. You're going to wake up one day, there's going to be murder bots breaking in people's homes, putting people to death. There's going to be slaughter bots targeting people, assassinating them. You know, there's going to be martial law in your streets, and You know, it's going to be a famine. People's going to be out there starving. It's going to be yelling, crying, you know, women getting women napped, getting raped. You're gonna step out on your front door, and your next door neighbor is going to be getting eaten by a tiger from the zoo somewhere. Okay, they're going to be getting eaten by tigers and cougars and bears and jaguars and even pit bulls. Because remember, pit bulls at one point were just wild dogs. You know, dogs at one point lived in a forest. But what happened? The so-called white man chopped down the forests and localized made the dogs a domestic urban creature to dwell in the cities. Nah, dogs were made to live out in the woods. So even dogs at one point were wild animals. So people's going to be getting eaten by dogs, which that's already started. You know, we already have our second case of the NIGGA woman who got basically ripped to pieces by her own dog. And you people ain't got no fear, and you don't seem to understand. There's a reason why in the book of Hebrews, the 12th chapter, it tells you that Yahweh is the father of spirits. You don't think animals have spirits inside them too? Who do you think closed the mouths of the lions when Daniel was in the lion's den? You think the lions just said, nah, bruh, that's a man of the Lord, man. Nah, I can't do it, bruh. Nah, man. It was the Lord who closed the mouth of those lions, because it was a commandment given to the Lord. Just like how when you go to the book of Sirach, right? The 39th chapter, it tells you there be spirits created for vengeance. You know, it tells you that there be spirits created for vengeance. Okay, and it tells you that when the time comes for them to pour out their wrath or whatever, they shall not disobey his commandment. So those lions received a commandment from the Lord not to lay a harm on Daniel. Okay, and you can also link that up with Job, the 5th chapter, where it tells you that the Lord's elect is going to be at peace with the beasts of the field. Who do you think is going to put the spirit on these dangerous animals to be at peace with the Lord's elect? Because there's going to be wild animals roaming all throughout the cities. Well, the Lord is going to be the ones who's going to put the spirit on these wild animals to do that. Okay? So, you're not going to wake up one day and it's just going to be all out Jacob's trouble. Disease warfare, people running around like zombies, eating and feeding on other people, and cannibalism and starvation going on, and disease warfare. And okay. Murder bots and robot dogs going around killing people on sight. Martial law on the streets, civil war, race war, civil unrest, all out chaos in the streets. No, you're not going to wake up and just see all that. Jacob's trouble is going to happen gradually. It's going to gradually lead to a point in life where it's going to be unbearable. And the only solution to relief or comfort is going to be to take the mark of the beast, which is the CHIP, the CHIP, the RFID CHIP. Okay. And if you take that mark, well, you're going to be destroyed in the lake of fire, which America is the lake of fire. Okay. So anyways, we're measuring the time diligently, and we can see how Jacob's trouble, we can see how we're in the midst of Jacob's trouble, but we're in the beginning stages of it. And we can see how it's gradually getting worse and worse and worse as time passes by. Because remember, time passes by gradually too, you know. You know? So, you know, first martial law, and now we're hearing rumors that martial law is being implemented across the entire United States of America. So get ready, because you never know when martial law troops might actually be in your city, but they might be stationed in garrisons somewhere, not necessarily on the roads or streets. Okay, so he answered me then and said, measure the time diligently in itself. So the government shutdown is the next thing to come, you know, in order for the so-called elites to move forward with their New World Order agenda. Okay, the government shutdown, you know, and basically taking away more government benefits, taking away more government programs that pretty much aid and help the people here on the soils of America, which will lead to what? It will lead to civil unrest. It will lead to people protesting. And look, man, people here on the soils of America, they are ready to snap. They're ready to blow. They're ready to lose it. They're ready to bug out and crash out, because they see that things are not getting better with their government. And a lot of people is waking up to the corruption and all of the evil and wicked deeds which the United States government is doing from behind the scenes. So a lot of people is getting ready to take up arms against the government. You got a lot of Jakes, a lot of Israelites, so-called Negro, Latino, and Native Indians, a whole bunch of fools who's going to partake in the civil war, right? Where you go to Micah 2 verse 10, it tells you, arise ye and depart, for this is not your rest. Why? Because it is polluted. What polluted this land? Okay, Numbers 33 verse 35. So ye shall not pollute the land wherein ye are, for blood it defileth the land. Whose blood defiled this land over here on the soils of America? The blood of the so-called Negro, Latino, and Native Indians. Okay, because our blood was heavily shed when we were in hardcore slavery. A lot of atrocities and a lot of atrocious things happened to our people during that time when we were in chains and shackles. A lot of murders, a lot of tortures. Okay, when the so-called North American Indians from the tribe of Gad, the Taino Indians, which will be the Puerto Ricans today of the tribe of Ephraim, when they were over here on the soils of America, there was a lot of bloodshed that took place. The Gatling gun, when the conquistadors and the English Dutch mercenaries came over here with the Gatling gun, they came over here with muskets, they came over here with cannons. Okay, a lot of our people's blood was shedded. A lot of our people died from diseases like scarlatina, typhoid, typhus. Okay, chickenpox, smallpox. Okay, you know, I believe malaria was another one. You know, so yeah. Let's see what time is it? I need to know what time it is. 10:40. Okay, so you know, arise ye and depart, for this is not your rest, because it is polluted. This land is also polluted and littered with sin and wickedness. Okay, it tells you that in the book of Jeremiah, chapter 50, verse 14. Okay, put yourselves in array against Babylon round about. All ye that bend the bow, shoot at her, spare no arrows, for she have sinned against the Lord. Okay, so this country have sinned against the Lord. And this country is polluted off of sin and iniquity. You know, iniquity and wickedness. So this place is polluted. It will destroy you even with a sword destruction, because this place is going to be destroyed with a sword destruction. And a matter of fact, in the book of Revelation, I believe the 19th chapter, it tells you that in 1 hour, this whole country will be destroyed. In 1 hour, and 1 hour is all it takes. Okay? And during that destruction, Yahweh Shai, who's coming back in what the world calls UFOs, he's going to deliver his elect men from this corrupted country. Just like how Enoch in the book of Genesis, who prophesied, was beamed up into what the world calls UFOs. Because Enoch being beamed up into what the world calls UFOs, it was not only a thing that actually happened, but it was also a sign of things to come, because it's going to happen again in this generation. Okay. So he answered me then and said, measure the time diligently in itself. And when thou seest part of the signs past, which I have told thee before, what signs? The prophecies. When you see the prophecies that are happening all around the world come to pass, then shalt thou know, then shalt thou understand that it is the very same time wherein the highest will begin to visit the world which he made. And the Lord, how's the highest going to visit the world? Through the prophecies that are written in the Holy Scriptures. Okay, the highest is going to visit the world through hurricanes, storms, tornadoes, floods. He's going to visit the world through lightning storms, meteorites being shown through the sky, chariots, so-called UFOs being shown on a radar over there at NASA. Okay, he's going to visit the earth through protests, riots, civil unrest, global civil unrest, protests everywhere. You know, fishes dying in the seas, fishes beaching themselves with 2 heads, 3 eyes, 6 eyes, 2 noses. You know, he's going to visit the earth through people being eaten by animals. That includes dogs. Okay, he's going to visit the world through people being judged. You know, rather if they're being so-called deported, which ain't no so-called Israelite migrant being deported out of the country. They're probably being sent to a concentration camp to have their melanin extracted out of them for the supercomputer, or they're being experimented. They're being experimented on, with no anesthetics. If I'm saying that correctly, okay? They're being experimented on, you know, and if not, they're being tortured, and if not, they're being killed off. And meanwhile, the little 4 and 7-year-old boys of these so-called immigrants over here in the U.S. that are being so-called deported, they're being used as sex slaves. Okay, and yeah, boys and girls, because Esau is into males. Well, he's mainly into males. Okay, because he's a freak and a weirdo. So yeah, you know, the little boys are being taken against their will, and they're getting popped somewhere on some Epstein Island or some secret pedo island. But you know, this is all judgment, man. It's all judgment at the end of the day. Okay, people dying, people getting burned to death in a burning house. Or people dying in a plane crash. It's all judgment. This is how the highest is visiting the earth, man. You know, the sky turning unusual colors being seen up in the sky. That's the Lord's visiting the earth through prophecy, biblical prophecy. Okay, people getting put to death during violent protests in Pakistan. That the Most High is visiting the earth. So when we start hearing about government shutdowns and they're talking about attacking free speech, that's also the Most High visiting the earth through biblical prophecy. Because whenever the internet goes out, whenever YouTube shuts down, or whatever, however the Lord wants to do it, that's going to be the famine of the word, man. Okay, so that's going to be Amos 8 verse 11 to 12 coming to pass. So, okay, so, you know, again, they're talking about a government shutdown because they're looking for an excuse to come down with that great wrath, which is going to be via their military, their robots, because Esau really wants to shut off the internet. That way, when he began doing all of his atrocious acts, nobody can record it and then upload it to the internet. See, look, this is what the U.S. government is doing, and then it shows like a 6 or 7 foot murder bot, walking down the street with 2 machine guns in his hand and shit, looking for targets to eliminate. So without a doubt, they're going to shut off the internet. Okay. They are going to shut off the internet. So I'm going to get one more precept here, because see, this whole government shutdown is all a part of that great wrath, man. Okay. Revelation 12 verse 12. Therefore rejoice, ye heavens, and ye that dwell in them. Woe to the inhabitants of the earth and of the sea. For the devil is come down unto you, unto who? The Israelites, the so-called Negro, Latino, and Native Indians, having great wrath. Where's this great wrath coming from? Well, it goes all the way back to the book of Genesis, the beginning. Okay, the 25th chapter and the 27th chapter, which led up to Esau saying in his mind that he was going to murder his brother Jacob because he got supplanted out of his birthright and his blessing, which the birthright and the blessing really belonged to our nation, the nation of Israel, the so-called Negro, Latino, and Native Indians from the beginning anyway. But anyway, that's a lesson for another time. Okay, so he's come down into us having great wrath because he know if they have but a short time. So the so-called elites who call themselves Rothschilds or Rockefellers, they know they have but a short time. So what are they doing? They're making moves. And they're not covering up their tracks anymore, man. They're letting people know that they're fed up with with all this slow process, and they about to get it popping, man. So with that, I'm gonna say shalom. It's on to the next one.